Hey y'all, so we have another lesson today. We're going to talk about lesson 33, which is finding the probability of independent and dependent events. Okay, so we've kind of touched on probability already, but this is going to go into it a little bit deeper. So the first thing we're talking about is independent events. So independent events are where the outcome of one does not affect the probability of another. Okay, so I'm on page 204, and the example that they're giving, so they have a spinner with 5 spots on it, so it counts from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it also gives you a coin that you can flip. So it's saying that if an independent event, it does not affect the other. So say I spin the spinner and it lands on a 2. Just because I land on a 2 doesn't mean that I'm also going to get a heads, right? Because those are two completely different things and two completely different probabilities. Okay, so independent, spinning a spinner and flipping a coin are independent because in a spinner you can get 5 different choices. In a coin you can either get heads or tails, and no matter what I get on either one, it doesn't affect the other one. Okay, then if let's say then how about dependent events? So a dependent event is the outcome of one event does affect the probability of the other. So the examples are going to talk about if I have a bag of marbles, say I have 4 red, 3 blue, and 2 green. Okay, so say I pull a red one out and I don't put it back. Okay, so that means that my probability is going to be different because there's one less red marble and there's one less marble in it all. So that means that dependent events, they are affected by another event happening, okay? So since I took a marble out and I didn't put one back in, that means that my probability is going to be different. So that means that it's all going to change. Okay, if I put it back, that means that it's an independent event. Okay, we'll do examples to kind of explain it a little bit more, but independent, they have no effect. Dependent, these events affect what happens next. Okay, so if we look, we're going to first kind of start off by identifying whether they're independent or dependent. So the first one says rolling a 6 on a number cube and a 4 on another number cube. So say I roll one dice and it lands on a 6. Okay, the probability is 1 to 6, right? Because there's 6 sides and 1 6 on it. Say I roll another number cube and it lands on a 4. Okay, just because I rolled a 6 on this one doesn't mean that I have to roll a 4 on this one. Okay, those are completely 2 different dice and they're completely different. So that means that it is independent because they are not, one of them does not affect the other. Okay, and then let's say rolling a 6 on a number cube and then rolling the same dice and getting a 4. Okay, so they're both 1 out of 6 probability because there's 1 6 on 6 different probability, 6 different outcomes, and then I roll the same dice and I get a 4. Okay, so those are both going to be independent as well because rolling a 6 does not affect me getting a 4 the next time because I still have the same number of outcomes each time I roll that dice. Okay, so those are both going to be independent events. Now, if I so let's say drawing a red marble from a bag, keeping it out of the bag, and then drawing a blue one. Okay, so the first time I drew a red marble and I kept it. Okay, then I put my other hand in and I draw a blue one. So that means that it is going to be dependent events because I did not put that first red marble back to have the same number of probability. So if I would have put the red marble back in, that means it would be independent because it's the same number of outcomes as it was the first time. But since I kept the red marble and I picked the blue one, I had a different number of outcomes in that bag of marbles to be able to pick a blue one and or a red one. Okay, so it affected it because I didn't have the same number of outcomes. Good? Okay, next one. So this is kind of saying the same thing, drawing a red marble but putting it back into the bag and then drawing a blue one. So these would be independent because I put the marble back in, which gave me the same number of outcomes the first time as it did the second time. So since it's the same number, it's going to be independent events. Okay?